to the DTM YouTube channel. Today we're going to give you guys a quick update on what's going on with the Big Boy Forge. Okay, this is a ribbon burner forge using forced air and propane. This one just went through a refresh. This is a perfect time to introduce and talk about the forge. We've talked about it a little bit on our Twitch, a little bit on our Instagram, but never kind of a full in-depth run through. So I'll try and make it as painless as possible. Okay, so bear with. This forge was all built in-house. We did everything here. We didn't order anything offline other than raw parts. Okay, so this is our design. Let's go ahead and give out the warning now. Okay, this is essentially a rocket that we've bolted down. Okay, this is very dangerous stuff. Please use caution if you're going to try and replicate this on your own. I recommend you do tons of research, and it would likely be better if you went and bought it. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, let's talk forge. Okay, the main body up top is 1/4 inch thick steel. Okay, that's a mix of wanting to have a sturdy shell, and it's all I had in stock. Okay, the top was flipped over, the hole was cut out for the burner, and we laid in 2-inch thick KO wool. Cut everything out, and I built little tabs that hold it up to the top. Okay? From there, we laid 1 inch of castable refractory. In this case, it is Mizu 3000 castable refractory. If that's not correct, I'll put the thing on the bottom that's actually correct. I have to look because we bought 2 different ones. Okay? The sides are the same fire brick you see right here. Okay? Overall length was chosen based on the availability of these bricks. Right? Biggest thing I can tell you about these forges is they need maintenance. Maintenance being the refractory, the KO wool, and the bricks. They all deteriorate over time. Okay? We're built in such a way that we can blow all this out and redo it with very little change to what's done here. Okay? The KO wool on top is going to be reusable. I know this because we've already had to blow the top out of this once, and we were able to coat right over the top again. So that's all set. The bricks on the side you can get in a 6-pack. They're not necessarily cheap, but they do last pretty well, and they're relatively affordable in terms of refractory. The base has 2 inches of homebrew refractory. Okay? That's a vermiculite plaster of Paris mix. Provides decent insulation, but it's not very tough, and it's not the best you can get. So we topped that with 1 inch of the same Mizu castable refractory. The base of forges takes a beating from borax. In this case, it's used as a flux when you're forge welding. All of this was built, once again, to be blown apart and maintained at regular intervals, which is why we only use 1 inch of the good refractory and then some junk in the bottom, or in the case of the top, the more reusable stuff. If we were to cast it completely, it would get a little bit expensive, knowing full well that I'm going to have to throw it away probably once a year. The burner head, 3 inches wide, 10 inches long, 3 inches deep. We got a 3x3 tube and zipped out some parts. The refractory is cast in such a way that there's only about 1 inch of dead space on top. This provides nice insulation from the flame and the mixing chamber, which is built in the top, as well as keeping everything isolated. So we don't want anything to come back through. So keeping that heat isolated helps prevent backfires. We recently had to redo this due to poor design in the initial construction, which caused a backfire and it to actually break. 1 1/4 piping, mainly because it's available. If we ever have to change this configuration, I go right down to Home Depot, I can pick up new stuff, and I don't have to special order it. Okay. Coming down to the side, we have quick disconnect. This allows for easy service of the injection unit. Injection unit. So this recently got much more convoluted than it originally was. Propane comes in the bottom. It now goes into a 1/4 turn emergency shutoff. Right? Nothing more than a ball valve. It's not particularly adjustable, but just in case, we can throw this off. Bob's your uncle, we're safe. From there, we go into a needle valve for mixing. This pulls in the propane and then allows a fine adjustment, as where the valve at the tank is more of a coarse adjustment. We have a gauge at the tank and a gauge here. I can see my pressure coming in and what I have it adjusted to for fine tuning. We've run this to the point where it will melt steel. Not to the point where it's a pool of metal, but to the point where it overheats what it's capable of maintaining. It actually starts to fragment and disintegrate. So this gets pretty stinking hot, so we need that adjustment. Below that is a gate valve. This is very important if you're going to build one of these. The gate valve is more accurate than a ball valve. Because it's not a quarter turn is quarter closed or anything like that, we can really dial this in. A couple of things up at the top we'll talk about, and then we'll move down to the blower. On this end, we have an adjustable. I promise it's adjustable. Sometimes you have to fight with it. Tool rest. All right. This is designed in such a way that longer bars, here's a perfect example, longer bars such as this have a rest, so they're not hanging out of the forge. Okay. This forge is intentionally built with the same opening front and back so that two users can use the forge at the same time. It has enough heat, it has enough space, I promise. So we can offset where work is coming in. That will be particularly useful in the future when we hope to get more individuals swinging hammer at the same time. On the front, we have a rather large work rest. Okay? This allows us to hang things off to the side to slow cool or cool in such a manner that it's not going to damage the steel. When a knife or a blade or anything like that comes out, especially thermocycling, you don't want it to cool too fast. That's going to affect the grain structure. So by setting it off to the side, it still has a little bit of heat here, but it can become closer to ambient temperature, a little bit slower. Seems to work better. The overhang on all sides just helps with laying out hot things. In the case of some of our bearing work and some of the knives that are on holding sticks, it's nice to be able to put it off to the side. This side doesn't have it so much. There's a bigger one on the back side. To lay it there, the refractory is not affected by the heat, and it allows it to cool, again, in a more controlled manner. Typically, this backside is not used, so you'll see a fire brick here, kind of canted to the side. This allows a little bit of extra exhaust. It keeps the dragon's breath out the front to a minimum. So this will spit some flames. It gets a little bit tough when you have a bigger piece or you accidentally push the piece too far in. Now you have to get a little bit closer. All right, let's go talk about the blower. Okay, so we talked about the valve. Okay, coming down we have an adapter tree that connects the PVC pipe down to the 1 1/4 black pipe that we use for the injection unit and the follow-on to the burner. Okay, no heat gets down here. I can run this forge for hours and grab any one of these metal pieces here. That's because we do so much insulation at the burner end that the heat does not rise through. This blower is actually our second blower. First one we used was a Dayton, designed for HVAC. It just didn't have the horsepower. It didn't have enough of the pressure to kind of blow through all of this nonsense. So we ended up stepping up. This is actually designed for coal forges or coke forges. It works very well in here, and it has the horsepower to run this. So I'm happy with the purchase, and it was actually cheaper than the other one that I bought. So it's a nice addition, right? Quick story. I actually had to take this blower into the hardware store and take this coupler, again, into the hardware store to figure out what was going to work. Fine gentleman walked up and looked at me and said, "Oh, you're building a forge, huh? Good luck." I guess he doesn't know who DTM is. From here, we run the power cord up into a quick on-off switch. This is the same reason we have an emergency throw right here. Cut the air off, cut the fuel off, fires out. Particularly handy when you start to get backfires. So This is nothing more than a quick box that plugs into a cord. We run an extension cord out and we're all set. Future upgrades include a safety button, which requires it to be held with power to start the system. This way, if the power ever fails, the flow of gas is shut off. This does run on propane. In the event of a power outage, we don't want this chamber filling with propane. Then you now have that word we're not supposed to say for fear of getting demonetized with the explodey stuff. So. That is your update on the big forge. This has to go through 2 or 3 heat cycles to bring the temperature up and finish curing the recently cast refractory. So it won't be in regular use yet. Potentially by the end of the day, we may be able to run it long enough to actually forge something. But until such a time, it's just going to be set up out there to run. What we're going to be using in the meantime is Pygmy Forge. Pygmy Forge has quickly become the workhorse in the shop. This does get hot enough to forge weld, but the insulation isn't thick enough all the way around, so it's not as efficient. It does work well for heat treating. We are going to continue to keep this in use. And little tidbit of information, little sneak peek, little foreshadowing. We are going to be getting a forge to bridge the gaps. DTM is looking to do some live events in the future. This isn't going to cut it, and this is just too big to move. So we'll be getting something in the middle. I'll be honest, we've built both of these. We're going to buy the next one. So that's all we have for today. Thank you very much for watching. I have some parting requests. If you like this video, there's a like button down there. If you could give us a thumbs up, we'd appreciate it. If you want to give us a thumbs down, I'm okay with that. That's fine. That's like your opinion, and you're entitled to it. Next thing, if you could go ahead and subscribe, because we're going to do more of these type of videos. We also have some short skits in true DTM fashion, and the Maker's Gonna Make series is going to continue. Season 1 has been completely filmed and is in the editing process. We're currently scripting Season 2. Finally, if you could go ahead and share this on your chosen social media platform, that would be great. We have a presence on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch, as well as our own website. All of those will be listed in the comment or in the description section below. If you could visit those, that would be the 4th thing that I would request, and that would be great. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chaco. Ski Ball's behind the camera. He's been great, and we're going to catch you on the next video. Bye.